This is iRacing. The iRacing Grand Prix World Tour continues as we head into the fourth round of 24. More importantly, Suzuka in the Orient, amidst the island of Japan, was our last battleground, but we head to the iconic Eifel region of Germany, as the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit is your host and venue for the 2026 iRacing Grand Prix World Tour, here live on GSRC. Hello everybody, Alex Goldschmidt in the commentary box, and joining me alongside is Jeremy Scott. Our director behind the scenes is Christian Deploy, with camera supplied by Dougie Beard. More to the point, this particular circuit has been open since 1984, but if you want a quick refresher, here's our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Nürburgring. Often overshadowed by its older, bigger brother, the Nordschleife, the Grand Prix course has actually accrued quite a bit of history itself. This modern circuit was built in the early 80s as a replacement for the lesser-known Southern Loop. And while it was updated and extended in 2002, it stayed roughly 3 miles in length throughout its history. However, the addition of the Mercedes arena brought about a total of 6 different layouts to choose from, with the longest including 16 turns. Though not as fearsome as the ring, it's technically challenging and carries its own fair share of elevation change. Plus, the types of corners come in a wide variety, ranging from the heavy braking into the sharp hairpin of the first turn, to the swift Schumacher S, which is still not quite flat out in a lot of modern cars. Passing can sometimes come at a premium, and drivers are often forced to get creative if they find themselves stuck behind a competitor. But the difficulty that elicits mistakes means that patience can pay off for those who stay diligent. While Formula One raced here on and off for a few decades, it now mainly hosts GT and touring car racing, along with some lower-tier open-wheel series. In the end, race fans certainly shouldn't overlook the importance of this German circuit. While it may not carry the fame of its counterpart, it holds up well and helps keep this worldwide phenomenon relevant to modern racing.
Well, Jeremy, the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, it really needs no introduction, but what can our drivers expect around this 3.2 mile, 16 turn circuit here today?
It's one of those perfect combinations, Alex, where you have, you get the nice tight corners, but you can also stretch your legs out just a little bit. That run off the AMG arena all the way down to 6 and 7 towards the Goodyear corner, absolutely astounding. Then you go through the Michael Schumacher S's, which basically you could take flat out if you really want to try. And then you got the Bilstein curve, and that all sets you up for the S's there, 14 and 15, and the Hyundai N curve. Of course, that's a little shortcut so you don't turn left into the big green monster. But either way, this track in and of itself has such a great personality compared to basically the whole complex there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a true driver's track, opened back in 1982. Last held a Formula One Grand Prix back in 2020. But it's now time to take you through the current standings after the opening 3 rounds. And Eduardo Radiz has been the man on true form, dominated proceedings at Suzuka, and he has a 13-point advantage over James Byrne. Jacob Reed rounds out your top 3, as they're covered by 25 points, and it's very close between him. Walter Lux in 4th, Jeffrey Lawler in 5th, and Sander Haugerod rounding out your top 6. Leopold Stanoros rounds out your top 7. We've had a bit of a missing in action situation with Emil Bernstoff, who placed P3 back at the opening round at Phillip Island. Edward Opari-Iri rounds out your top 9, with Florian Kammeyer completing the top 10. Well, Jeremy, why don't you take the folks through the round details here for the 4th round out of 24.
And it's 4th round, 60 laps, an open setups. You don't get a spare car with a drive-through at 17X, and you get additional drive-throughs at every 8 X's that you get. So basically, if you go off, you get 4X. If you touch somebody, you can get anywhere from a 1 to 2X. So really just keep that in mind, especially with the 60 laps around the Nürburgring.
Yep, so it is still early days in this championship, which really will showcase the very, very best strength. The field today, 5,900 and 31 as we go trackside via the Helicam for the very first time here for round 4 out of 24. And when you think about it, there is going to be a lot of opportunities. And you look at the history books, you look at what has happened with the track statistics, and looking back over the past few years at the Nürburgring, Eduardo Radice, could he do the double like he did last time out at Suzuka? Jorge Marquinez won it back in 2024. Matteo Ugolotti won the double both in 2022 and 2023. But more to the point, it is going to be the case of who is going to come out on top in this time qualifying session. We have just over 6 and a bit minutes to go. But more to the point, the track itself, 65 degrees Fahrenheit air, 18 degrees centigrade, 24 degrees track temp, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And more to the point, we've got a 11-mile-an-hour wind to the north. So there is going to be a little bit of crosswind that the drivers are going to have to contend with, Jeremy. And that could be very, very crucial, especially when the DRS is activated.
And that's going to be a huge key because you've got a couple of places where the DRS can be activated here on the circuit. So you've got obviously your DRS detection zone coming into the Ravenel curve, and all the way from 12 to 14, such a long DRS zone. And of course, coming off the Vidal chicane, you've got that DRS activation zone just before pit in. And the front stretch acts as the second one with the DRS closing right around the Yokohama curve. So two very distinct areas to watch out for with these drivers as you see Radice making the qualifying lap.
Yeah, the man from Brazil has been on absolutely top form and dominated from lights out to checkered flag. Now, I have to give a shout out to a good friend of the GSRC Massive, Craig King. He said, look, just wanted to drop some info. What a nice guy, Jeremy. That's what we like about our team here at GSRC. If they're not on the call, they try and help out as best they can. And it sounds like that most drivers might be doing a medium to softs one-stopper around here, which is similar to the compounds that F1 would have run back a little while ago. But it's going to be cold, so a cold track. So what that's going to mean is that the drivers will be able to go longer on those soft Pirelli compound tyres, and they may outlast the mediums, which is quite a surprise. But when you look at the adverse camber, the elevation changes as we see Jacob Reed trying to make his way up from 12th at the moment with a 131.719. He's been in the trenches so far these first 3 rounds, but nevertheless, it's all about how you get yourself. If you can get yourself to the sharp end, as someone's dropped a lot of gravel off of turn 8 to the Goodyear corner, as Jacob makes his way up through the Michael Schumacher S's. Alex Hagland, currently P2, just over 3/10 behind Dennis Branch in the number 7 car, who has posted the fastest lap so far of the qualifying session, 128.622. Mario Bodlos in the number 6 goes up to P10. So we had a really, really close battle in qualifying, and Eduardo Radice, I think, nipped it in the bud with exactly the same lap time as Jacob Reed. And Radice got the benefit of pole position. So qualifying is going to be crucial to how your race plays out today over 60 laps.
Warner Soloway was the one who had the issue there at the Goodyear curve because he only made, either way, Jacob Reed to the top, 27.888, the fastest time there. So now we're starting to see flyers come. Radice comes up to the 27.838. So a very short distance between Radice and Reed. And now you see Hagland to the top, 27.820. Lots of very fast times coming in as Rakow comes around into Sector 3, Sector 1, I should say. 2. 1, 2, 3. I can count. Don't worry about it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll make our way through, but yeah, this is one of those zones where you're going to see the DRS be really active.
Yeah, heading into the final 2.5 minutes of qualifying. And when you look at the results for Eduardo Radice, wins at Phillip Island and Suzuka, finished P6 at Mugello. James Byrne, a 9th at Phillip Island, a win at Mugello and 2nd last time out. Jacob Reed, P3 last time out. Suzuka, 17th at Mugello, so he had a bit of a disaster. So Mario Bodlos blindsides everybody with a 127.423, nearly 4/10 quicker than Hagland, as here we see Kent Nielsen in the number 16 car, currently, funnily enough, car number 16, currently P16 in qualifying. Let's see if he is able to improve on a 190.963. But then when you look at the top 10, rounded out by the number 12, Sander Haugerod, covered by just over a second. It could get even tighter as the drivers really trying to put in their push laps, and Bodlos has had a very dramatic opening sector. He's just on a 38.6, but here comes Kent Nielsen to the line. What does the number 16 have to say? That is going to be a 129.864. Improves on time, but not position.
So right now, rolling off 16th as he decides to call time on his session. Reckon let's see what he can do in the number 18, 29.610 is the best time he can do, working his way out of the Vidal chicane and into the pits. So 29.610 is all he can do, 14th, and I think that's going to do it for the session as well.
Yeah, so looks like we got 17 out of 19 drivers. Thanks to our director, Christian deployed just before we went live. I think there were 68 sign-ups, which meant 4 respective splits, but we got the main challengers to get things going. But, well, what can you say? An absolutely barnstorming lap by Mario Bodlos in the number 6. Puts him on pole position for 60 laps of the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit here for round 4, live on GSRC. For the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour, Manuel Bodlos and Alex Hagland start on the front row. Then it's championship leader Eduardo Rodis and Jacob Reed on row 2. Walter Lux and James Byrne round out row 3 with Jeffrey Lawler. And also the very hard-charging Mr. George van Rensburg rounding out your top 8 with Dennis Branch and Sander Haugerod rounding out your top 10.
Grab the second part of the grid where Florian Keimer and Edward Opar-Ayer round out row 6. Philip Kuhnhardt and Sebastian Recco, row 7. Leopold Sternas and Kent Nielsen, row 8. Kostek Solway and Balzas Galliar make up row 9. Galliar did not set a time, and neither did Goisman in the 10th row, bringing up the rear.
Yeah. Gutman's last appearance was back at the season opener at Phillip Island, placing 13th. And Balazs Galliar has had a 15th and 11th and an 11th, but he has stormed his way through the field before having set no time in qualifying. As we are starting to ready up on the grid ahead of 60 laps for round 4 out of 24 for the 2026 iRacing Grand Prix World Tour. Great to see everyone getting involved in the YouTube chat, so if you haven't already, why not like, share, and subscribe? And also you can find us at GSRC_Gram on Instagram, which is something I've cottoned onto quite recently. So why don't you give us a follow there? You can check out some cool graphics, some great reels of action that we've seen over the relevant series that we broadcast here. But it is going to be the case that these overcast conditions here, Jeremy, that is going to be the true kicker. And if these soft tyres last incredibly long, depending on where they start, they might try and get the mediums out of the way.
You might want to get those mediums and get onto the sauce as fast as you can. And it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out as the field almost gridding up. Just waiting on a couple other drivers and one more. But either way, I think the switchover is going to be quite interesting.
The whole field on mediums as we wait for the lights to go green here for 60 laps of round 4 of the iRacing GP World Tour. We're underway here in Germany. And a good start in Rodis trying to thread the eye. The needle makes it 3 wide, and I think he's already got the whole shot. The Brazilian's already jumped to the front as we go to Yokohama for the first time. Oh, a moment there for pole sitter Mario Bodlos. He drops to 3rd behind Alex Hagland, and now here comes the freight train. Rodis, like he did at Suzuka, cantering away early doors. He's got a big gap of 0.7 of a second as we go out of the AMG arena down into turn 4, and it's a run through 5 into 6 and 7. Jacob Reed trying to go to the inside of James Byrne through into turn 7. That was never going to work there because he tried the outside line. Now down towards Goodyear, riding on board with the Austrian Walter Lux in the number 4 car. currently residing in P7. He's down 2 places, having started from the outside. Oh, a bit of a touch and a wiggle. That's Jacob Reed off the circuit. Contact between him and Jeffrey Lawler in the number 13. And Jacob Reed plummets down into 10th position by the time we hit the Schumacher S's.
Already tough start for Jacob Reed as you see Rensburg trying to get in the battle with Hagerod as they work their way out of that section now down towards the chicane, which will set them up for the end of the first lap. You're looking out the back of Rensburg as Reed already up 1 spot. He sits there in 9th as he closes in on Rensburg. Already a rough start for the driver, the number 3, as he's already down 5 spots so far this race. He was lucky to save that, Alex, because that could have been absolutely nasty with as cold as the tires still technically are. But Radice, once again, showing why he's at the top of the point standings. He's a second ahead of Bodloss down through the 1, 2, 3 complex.
Yeah, Eduardo Radice doing an absolutely great job, and Mario Bodloss, the highest of the Austrians in our 19-strong field. Balázs Galliard bringing up the rear of it. Jacob Reed trying to get through on the ever aggressive and hard-charging South African George van Rensburg. They go wheel to wheel. Could be very tight, but Reed has to duck out of it at the last moment. Van Rensburg nearly goes wide, going through into Goodyear at turn 8, and now it's up the hill through the Schumacher S as we go again. So Bodloss is starting to catch Eduardo Radice. Reed again trying to the outside line. He's going to try and make it work, but he hasn't got the traction. This is going to bring in Sander Haugerod down in 10th position. Florian Kameyer is not too far behind. He's about half a second adrift as Reed now tries to go into Ravenel. And he spins it! Jacob Reed still on cold tyres on lap 2. It's disaster for the number 3 for the United Kingdom.
Well, now it's going to be pit strategy if Reed wants to get anywhere to the top, as this is just such a rough outing for Reed. Very rare off by the UK driver as he makes his way now all by himself. This is just not what he wanted. Walter Lux, though, in a battle with Lawler. That's for the 5th spot, and Lux has it, but Lawler takes it back going into turn 1. Oh, nice little pinch job as he has to go wide to try and defend Lawler, though still up in 5th with Lux in 6th.
Yeah, Lux will be able to get the DRS detection zone very, very shortly for the next opportunity, which will be coming out of turn number 12 as we run aboard with the man from the land of the stars and stripes in the number 13. That was a great opportunity for Jeffrey Lawler, who's made up 2 spots on the inside of row 4 as we are on lap 3 out of 60. But Eduardo Radice is starting to put the hammer down here, and he's about 1.2 seconds, as you can just see a little bit of additional throttle coming from the exhaust notes for Jeffrey Lawler as we go up the hill through the Schumacher S's. Now this is the elevation change. You've got to be fully committed. There was not a lift, there was not a boost there at all from the number 13 and into Ravenel here at turn number 11. But still, with Valtelux being within half a second, he will get the DRS zone activated here. And there it goes. There she opens, and also behind you've got Dennis Branch, who's made his way up from E9. And he's in a double DRS range because his rear wing top flap is also open. So this could be a really, really interesting battle. But still, we've had dramas for the number 8 of Leopold Stenoros all the way down to stone dead last the number 8 cars. Here we're going to see is the GSRC replay coming up. So let's have a look at the replay. So Leopold Stenoros trying to, now this is going to be into turn 1. Oh, this is not going to go well. He just outbrakes himself, and I think he just completely missed the braking point. Sebastian Rekov goes round at Yokohama, so the man on home soil. And then we're going to see that's going to be, I think that's Jacob Reed that's going to make it through at the at turn 3 at the AMG Arena, because Jacob Reed now up past Kostek Soloway and is now running P16. 12 places dropped by the number 3 as Rekov gets out of dodge quickly. But Lawler and Lux are still in each other's wheel tracks as they come out of turn 8. Up the hill we go again. These laps, folks, are going to fly by. Blink and you'll miss them.
I think I might have saw a little bit of a bump there. There's Sternos's newest incident as he just takes a spin sometimes that back end, wanting to see what the front end is looking at. But either way, he's able to get going once again. There's Lawler doing his best to hold off Lux. Now, Lux still within that DRS zone, but, Branch, he's not too far away. Grass isn't too bad either here at the Nürburgring. Oh, a little bit of side-by-side action to Halgerod and Rensburg as they're going toe-to-toe once again. And Halgerod going to have to hold on to ninth, but he's trying to go to the inside. He's going to be within that DRS zone as well.
Yeah, keep your eyes on James Byrne. He's just got through at turn 1 on Alex Hagland for P3. Halgerod, Rensburg, and then you've also got Kamaya is there waiting in the wings. Van Rensburg to the inside at turn 1. He's going to sweep to the outside through at 2. The Norwegian in the number 12 trying to keep with him. He's trying to go wheel to wheel through to 3. And then out of the Mercedes-AMG arena they go. Into the right at turn 4. Van Rensburg's got the racing line. Keep your eyes on Kamaya, because if these two clash, the man behind is going to pick up the pieces. They're still wheel to wheel for the briefest of moments. Down into turn 6. And Haugerod has to give discretion the better part of valor on that particular occasion.
So we've got another DRS zone coming up, but either way, if they can stay within one another, this battle for 8th is really going to be quite interesting to Rensburg, Halgerod, and Keimer as they come through the Schumacher S's. Almost said Senna there because you're just so used to calling each and every corner Senna, like half the racetracks that we go to. But with this being Michael Schumacher territory, it's a lot easier. We only have we have one driver on the soft tires, and that's not Jacob Reed, because he's still on the mediums trying to chase down the 3 drivers ahead of him, Galliard, Ghostman, and Nielsen. I've got to say, I hope that he can get something out of this, because he's been trying to climb up, but every time we think that he's going to be up near the front, he has some sort of issue.
Yeah, he's got the number 17, the Hungarian, just in front, Balázs Galia. Then also Ali Gugman in the number 19. Kent Nielsen is at the front of the train as we ride on board with the number 3, who's now back up into 15th. You can see now how late is Jacob Reed going to be on the brakes. He's incredibly late. As off goes Gugman at turn 1 into the kitty litter. So that's a real shame for the number 19. He's got to drop down. Yeah, like you said, there's only one driver that's gone on early to the softs, and that's Edward Opiri in the number 11. So I'm wondering if he does a Sergio Perez type tyre whisper on that and gets it to the end of the race without any major incidents. It's Kent Nielsen, the Canadian, very, very close to the rear diffuser of Balázs Galia, and nearly could have punted the Hungarian off the circuit inadvertently, but Kent making sure that he hit his marks, even though it was nearly a code down and clean up on aisle 3 at the same time.
Yeah, 6 and 1/2, half dozen the other. You could see the Pirelli decals on the side of that tire, so one has to watch out for how flat that he made it. Rakow closing in on Nielsen, however, so that's a battle for 14th. And Soloway also not too far away, both within all 3 of them within the DRS zone, as Rakow trying to go around the high side of Nielsen. He's able to get it done. That's one move, but can Soloway make something happen? As it looks like that Nielsen is indeed going to come down to the pits, so that's an easy pass as your driver you try to get around is in the pits. Here comes Rensburg trying to close in on Haugerod as he's still got to hold off Keimer, and that's a position you really don't want anyone to be in, trying to defend and make a pass all at the same time. It's kind of, I don't know what it's like. It's just tough.
Yeah, exactly. It's not easy. Like we said at the top of the show here, Jeremy, it's difficult to overtake here at Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. And with the runoff areas being mainly grass and gravel, you know, if you go straight on in one of these things, you're going to be hitting the barrier before you can even blink, and you miss it, and then all of a sudden you think, that's my race done and dusted. Looks like Leopold Steneros might have become our first casualty of round 4 of the series, as Walter looks closing in once again on Jeffrey Lawler as they head into turn number 11 at Ravenel before Bilstein, and then we go through into the very fast Advanborgen, and here is where we get the DRS as Walter looks within the he's within the DRS range, so I'm sure he will have that open all the way through to the Vidor chicane. then into Hyundai N-Curve, which at one point used to be known as Coca-Cola Corner. Maybe the Nürburgring might have had a sponsorship deal with Coca-Cola Germany for all we know, but it has had quite a few name changes when it comes to corners over the years, but good to see that the Michael Schumacher S's are still there. Valter looks to the outside of Jeffrey Lawler, and that is a brave move from the Austrian. Is he going to counter any switchback? Yes, he does. Through into turn 2 at the Mercedes-AMG Arena, and the Austrian is through on the American.
What a pass that was. You know, here's the thing. I think that if they do rename that Michael Schumacher S's, there will be pitchforks and torches right where the roller coaster used to be. But Lux trying to open up a little bit of bigger gap on Lawler as he falls back into 6th place again. He's got to be careful because Dennis Branch, he's lurking back there in 7th place. But Lux has about another almost 5 seconds to catch up to Hagelin. But if Hagelin races burn here, here we go once again, goes a little wide, Lux does, and Lawler licks his chops, knows that he might have another shot here at 5th place as he gets into the DRS zone momentarily. They'll get past the detection zone. They're side by side for position, neither giving an inch, as you'll see the back wing open up on the rear Lux's W13 now. Let's see how close it takes him to get up to position as he's going to go side by side once again. High, wide, and handsome is not the way to do it.
No, especially at that point on the circuit. I think Jeffrey Lawler did use great discretion there. Open up the DRS as soon as they got out of turn number 12. But another wobble from the Austrian out of the final corner. He nearly lost it there. And Dennis Branch is about 0.3 of a second. And here comes Lawler again to the outside. He's going to try and throw one high, wide, and handsome around the outside of the Austrian. He's done he's put the boot on the other foot, to speak here, Jeremy. He just pulled a number that Lux did on him just 1 lap ago. Brilliant stuff.
That was absolutely brilliant indeed, and going to be interesting to see how long that this lasts too, because these two have been partners in battle all race long. And I've got to say, if I'm Branch, I'm pretty excited to see these two go back and forth, because now that gives me a chance to race for a potential top 5 spot around the Goodyear hairpin. They'll go through the Michael Schumacher S's once again, and this time it will be Lux's turn for the DRS. Once they get through the DRS detection zone, then they'll set themselves up for that DRS zone 1. Again, 2 DRS zones here. It'll be right about now. Yep, right about, that's the detection zone. So we'll be coming up here shortly and then on the front straightaway. So 2 great opportunities with 2 fantastic braking zones to try and catch up to one another. Lux opens up that rear wing once again to try and catch up to Lawler.
It's musical chairs between these two for P5 to the inside. Dives, Walter looks from Austria, gets a little bit of wobble coming out of the Vidal chicane at turn 15, but manages to keep it pointing in the right direction out of the far corner, and now he's starting to break away. Lawler is going to have DRS, Branch is within DRS range now, and he's got his rear flap open. So a 3-way scrap over 5th, 6th and 7th. Lawler to the inside at turn 1. That was a late braking manoeuvre, and he's overcooked it. Oh, dearie me. He could have done a bit of a switchback maybe on Lux to get through, but Lawler nearly cooked it completely and could have ended up straight on into the barriers after that one.
Now, it looked like that right front kind of locked up a little bit, so yeah, a little too fast going into turn 1 with as fast as Lawler had to pop in. He'll be within DRS range most likely as the American tries his best to stay within that top 5. And this is bringing more and more cars into the battle. You saw Branch, you got Halgerod, Rensburg, Keimer. Oh, by the way, look who's 11th. It's Jacob Reed.
Oh, the comeback king is back in action, and he's got a 4.3 second gap between himself and the number 5 of Florian Kamaya, who is within DRS range of George Van Rensburg, who is in turn in DRS range of Sander Haugerod. So, folks, we're 1/6 of the way through the race. Don't keep your eyes away from the screen for a second. If you got your popcorn of choice and your cold beverage of choice, again, Lawler on Lux through for P5, and then gets a misstep through the chicane. And here comes Dennis Branch, and the Austrian gets compromised by Lawler's mistake into the Vidal chicane, and here comes Sander Haugerod. Oh, it's going to be a quartet, a party-filled atmosphere right behind Lawler, who is away and clear by now, nearly a second. DRS flaps open all over the place. Sander Haugerod looking to the inside. He nearly made it 3-1 into turn 1, but the Norwegian backed out of it right at the last split second. Wheel to wheel between Messrs Branch and Lutz. Haugerod's waiting. Rensburg's going to be there in the mix, and this is going Florian Kammeyer to close the gap. This is going to be brutal for these drivers over the next 58.5 laps to go.
Yeah, you saw all the rear wings happy that they were able to open up, smile, and be used down the front straightaway. He's even happier as Jerry Lawler. He's already opened up a 1.1 second gap to Lux and company. So right now, he's marked safe from DRS activation behind him. Who's not marked safe? Well, it's Walter Lutz. He's got several drivers who are within striking distance who can open up that rear wing and take advantage of this opportunity, as Haugerod right now doesn't need the DRS as he tries to close in on Branch. Branch with a great move there going into that corner. Now they'll set themselves up for the first DRS zone. Let's see who all decides to take advantage. Well, it's everybody from Branch all the way back to Kammeyer. And nobody able to make a pass because of that. See, that's the crux of the DRS. If everybody has it, nobody's going to be able to pass.
Yeah. Also, the big thing is that Kent Nielsen, after 4 laps, well, he's on a 4-lap old soft Pirelli compound tyres. Edward Opariari, the man in the number 11 car down in 17th, has been on them for 6 laps, whereas everyone else is clocking up 12 laps on the medium compound Pirelli tyres. There's bit of a moment there for George van Rensburg going into Yokohama. It's lost a bit of distance between himself and the Norwegian Sander Haugerod in P8, who is chasing down. He's swarming all over the rear wing of Dennis Branch, as Branch, I think, might have had a little bit of a tail snap there as they go into turn 6 and 7. So Haugerod looking rather feisty in the number 12. But meantime, towards the the biggest gap at the moment is between Jeffrey Lawler and Alex Hagland in 4th position. Nearly 11 seconds of a differential. So these pit stop strategies, they've got to get their 3000 IQ strat hat on here today, Jeremy, because if you make one small mistake in the pit lane, here goes Haugerod on Branch into the left-hander at turn 11. That was neat as you like by the Norwegian. That was poetry in motion.
Yeah, it's just, got to do the best you can, and the pit stops are where races are won and lost, as once again everybody in the DRS zone not able to make a move because you got 4 rear wings that are just wide open. Oh man, did Branch get a little off on that corner. He wasn't able to get on just as fast, but now he might be a threat here to lose at least one position because of that little hiccup. But yeah, either way, races, it takes a 1/10 of a second to just lose everything here. So we'll see what happens when these drivers come in for fresh rubber, and when the rest of the field all the way down to Rakow goes in for the soft tires.
Well, unfortunately, looks like we have got our official first retirement. Leopold Steneros is out of the race after what was 4 laps. So a real shame for Steneros, who was very feisty at Suzuka last time out for round number 3. But in the meantime, James Byrne has been losing time to Alex Hagland, the fast Swedish driver in the number 10. Might have to nickname him Super Swede with the way that he's closed that gap up. Shades of Ronnie Peterson, maybe. But this is going to be very interesting. We're right on board with the number 10 as we go through into Advan Bogen. And he's got the throttle flat to the floor into the Vidal chicane. And then it's going to be through into Hyundai N. So at this point, Alex Hagland is within DRS range of James Byrne. They come into the final corner. Oh, bit of a wobble there from Byrne. Hagland's got the DRS open. Byrne to the inside. He knows he can't really fight as Hagland's got the DRS wide open to the outside at turn 1. But Byrne parks it on the apex. Hagland, however, is going to get the crossover, and through he goes at P3 at turn 2 through the Mercedes-AMG Arena. Meantime, Van Rensburg to the outside of Branchner at turn 1. He does exactly the same thing as what we've just seen from Alex Hagland, but Byrne is not going to give out because that fire burns brightly with the number 1 from the USA.
You took my joke. Good job there, Alex. That's fantastic. Dynamite drop in there, Johnny. Looks like that broadcast school really paid off as Byrne trying his best to stay within DRS range. And I think that he might be able to get it. We still got a bit of ways, so we need to see that DRS. But Byrne through the Schumacher S's, a little bit of bounce there. Might be just a tick too. Oh, he is within range, so that's good to see. We'll see how that works in there going towards the final chicane as he comes down, opens that flap, and starts to reel in Hagland for the provisional bottom step of the podium, but he's too far away to make anything happen. It still gives him enough range to catch it there on the front straightaway, so at least he's got that going for him, which is nice around the Hyundai end curve as they come down once again. We saw Byrne park it on the inside, and darn, you lost it. Is he going to have to go to the inside once again as Hagland keeps the racing line for the time being? And indeed he is. Byrne going to go easily into third place once again with no chance of Hagland to defend.
Yeah, topping out at just over 190 miles an hour as the number 1. But a good, clean move on Alex Hagland. This looks like this battle here, Jeremy, is going to go on for quite a long time because they are losing big time to the man in second position as Jacob Reed is closing in. The next person on his hit list is going to be the number 7 of Dennis Branch. Branch is losing a little bit of time coming out when trying to put the power down and get the traction out of the corners. And here comes Jacob Reed through out of turn number 4 and then through into the next couple of corners here at turns 5. The downhill adverse cambered left-hander, then into the right here 7, and then it's through this what some people might say, yeah, it's a little bit of a straight. No, it's not. It's more like a bend. It's like parabolica at Hockenheim. You know, you get this sort of like banked adverse camber to the left, sweeping left-hander, but Reed is still within that window, and based on the fact that he's got not just Dennis Branch in front of him, he's also got Florian Kammeyer, who's rounding out the top 9. So Reed is going to have the opportunity now. If he can get this quarter exit right and then open up that DRS flat, which he should do now, on cue, number 3, as Haugerod battling away with Walter Lux as Jeffrey Lawler's trying to get away like a scalded cat on a hot tin roof, as the Austrian and the Norwegian. I mean, it's great when we see these battles with the strength of field, nearly 6K I rating between 19 drivers combined as an average. And only 16 of them, after 16 laps, are still on those medium Pirelli compound tyres. But still, Kent Nielsen and Edward Opariari, and looking at their lap times, Opariari mid 31.5, Nielsen on a high 32.2. So as Reed has got through on Branch, now has Kammeyer in his crosshairs. So then there's a further 2.4 seconds to George Van Rensburg, who's just come through shot. So Jacob Reed, if not anything in the number 3 car, is one that can win at the front. He can fight in the mid-pack, but he can also charge his way through the field. And that's what you need in a long 24-round calendar like we have with the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour.
Exactly. So no surprise he's made it way in the top 10. Closing in on Kammeyer for the 9th place around the Schumacher S's. I'll head over to the Ravenel curve, and Reed's going to be within DRS zone. So it's a matter of if not when. You have to strike that, reverse it as he opens up the rear flap. Reed does, reels in the 9th place driver, not going to make the pass. Nope, no, I wouldn't do it. Nope, indeed he's not going to, because he's going to have another opportunity down what I would consider the only straightaway here, and that is the pit straight as they work their way through Hyundai end curve once again. Reed will have that rear flap open now. Let's see how tight that he can get. He's going to get the pass done well before pit out, and indeed he's going to move Reed to 9th place for the time being, and quite decisively, as Kammeyer now has Branch on his rear wing.
Yeah, you would. A lot of people might expect that the Germans on their home soil would be absolutely mustard around here, but unfortunately, it's not gone the way they would have expected. But when you have this close and competitive field, I mean, we had a much bigger grid at Suzuka, but I'm hearing that sign-ups were closer to 3/4 of a century, as Alex Hagland again trying to close in on James Byrne. The gap is just over 2/10. Hagland is trying to just stick his nose up the inside of Byrne just to say, don't forget about me, I am behind you. DRS detection zone activated. And flap is opened. Hagland is going to close in at over 180 miles an hour. Down into the Vidal chicane. And can't make the move because it's never easy. It's only when you're right on the rear diffuser of the car in front, Jeremy, that you can get through, as we see picture in picture. Sebastian Petkov to the inside. Oh, that's not how you play the game going into T1.
No, and here's the thing. We've seen some wild entries, wild incidents in T1, but you just sometimes the driver ahead of you brakes just a little bit harder than you expect, and you kind of got to expect it through there because it's turn 1, Yokohama curve. Alex Hagland closing in once again on Byrne, and still look at the gap that Byrne's trying to open up, because he doesn't want Hagland to have that DRS. And at this point, it's going to have to be a miracle of some sort for Hagland to lose that DRS zone as they work their way through Goodyear curve, or just a couple of good corner exits out of Byrne. And see how he works his way around turn number 8. And still, yeah, that gap is growing, but not enough for Byrne to not get burned by somebody else's DRS.
Yeah, I just think at that particular perspective, it's all going to come down to the lightning quick pit stops that we will expect. I mean, we have seen it where some drivers have not done well. They've either missed their pit stall or they've broken the speed limit on pit entry or pit exit, which then comes with further dramas, either a loss of time or a drive-through penalty through pit lane. Oh, and there is Kostek Soloway, the Polish driver in the number 14, who on debut back last time out at Suzuka finished P8. He was even at one point in the top 5 as Hagland and Byrne once again are going into battle. Hagland with the DRS open, puts on the brakes, DRS closes shut into T1. And now Rensburg, in the meantime, has got through. Okay, Walter Lux is the first one to blink here on lap number 19. And is more than likely going to spend 41 laps on those soft Pirelli compound tyres. The Austrian in the number 4 hits his mark in the pit lane. Car goes up. And let's see. So Kostek Soloway, let's have a look at the replay now coming up. And I think it's going to be self-induced here. Onto the curbing, rides the AstroTurf, and around she goes. And whilst I say that, Walter Lux, 4.2 seconds on his marks, with the tyres being changed out in 22.8. So now it's a case of do 4.2 seconds or quicker on your marks, changing your tyres from mediums to softs. You might be in a pretty good way come race's end.
So we'll see how that works out for Lux in 13th. Kammeyer, as we saw there for a brief second, trying to close in on Branch for 9th. Hagland trying to throw everything at Byrne that he can. And it's just too far away to make something happen as Hagland tries to open up that gap coming off the final corner. You see the rear wing open up for Hagland, and Byrne trying to break off that draft, and that's going to be easier said than done, as once again Hagland gets close but no cigar for a striking distance for that bottom step of the podium. By the way, Radis and Bodloss they're long gone, to say the least. 10 seconds separates these two from the lead two, as you're watching the front of the back of Byrne. I gotta say, Alex, if I'm Byrne, it's like, okay, I gotta worry about my own race, but at the same time, I gotta get myself enough so that way Hagland can't keep using that DRS.
Yeah, he's got to break that toe very, very quickly, as now Jeffrey Lawler has just lost out position to Sander Haugerod, the Norwegian, through to P5. He's up 5 spots. Hardest charger in the race so far, Balázs Gallagher, the Hungarian, in 12th position. Didn't set a lap time in qualifying. He started in 18th place. He's up 6 positions, now rounds out P12. 4.3 seconds behind the number 15 of Philip Coulthard. As we go into Advan once again, DRS open on the rear wing of Hagland. Byrne trying to break that toe and break that advantage. But we're a third of the way through the race. We're on lap 20 out of 60. Make that 21 out of 60. So 39 to go here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit for round 4 out of 24 for the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour 2026. Radis is away and clear. He's 3.5 seconds up the road from pole sitter Mario Bodlosh, who did a really, really great job. He actually just thought, well, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, see what happens, and he goes pole by nearly 0.4 of a second, despite the dead heat we had at Suzuka. But Bodlosh still trying to keep Radis within earshot, and it's mainly going to come down to these pit stops. If any one of these drivers makes a mistake. Now, Eduardo Radis, if you folks might remember, back at Suzuka at the Nissan hairpin, he went around. So even the Italian is not completely infallible. He can make mistakes. And because this is a full Grand Prix race distance, folks, these drivers will be mentally, physically taxed all the way, everything through every single lap. I mean, the only place you've got a chance to breathe here, Jeremy, is the start-finish track out of turn 50, the last corner, and going into turn 1 at Yokohama.
Yeah, you don't have many opportunities to break, and with 60 laps around here, it is absolutely demanding to try and catch up to your competitor. Looks like you might have had a little bit of an issue, though, in Sector 1. Might have had a blink as we're taking a look at our timing and scoring. James Byrne, speaking of drivers who are going to be absolutely mentally and physically fatigued by the end of this, because he's been trying to keep Hagland behind him as he breaks the draft once again, with Hagland opening up his DRS, shuts the front door on him, going into the Yokohama corner, but still able to keep that third place for the time being. Alex, this has been the battle of the race so far, because you've got two very good drivers up here at the front trying to go toe-to-toe and defend off of one another. There have been times where Hagland has had to take some defensive lines to get around Byrne, and vice versa. You know, these two, they are just easily taking little by little out of each other, but they're still 10 seconds ahead of Hagerod sitting back there in 5th place.
Yeah, I mean, also, thanks to our broadcast director, Christian Deploy, reminding me of Eduardo Radis. He actually got a black flag on the last lap at Mugello, and that's why he finished outside of the top, out of the top 3, more to the point, more outside of the top 7. So, but the track limits are incredibly brutal here at the Nürburgring, so that mental and physical exhaustion I talked about, folks, will come into play. And if you've got the adrenaline, you've got the bottle, and you've got the intestinal fortitude to just grin, bear it, and just say, look, I'm going to do it because I need to do it. I need the points, as Hagland so late on the brakes into the final chicane, the Vido chicane, and now the Swede. How close will he be coming out of the Hyundai N curve? Byrne applies the power, tail end snaps a little bit to the left, but it's a control drift. So James Byrne holds on to it, but here we go. That is over 186 miles an hour going into turn 1 before Hagland, with the DRS open, slams on the anchors through into turn 3. And again, you can just see James Byrne's back end looks a little bit loose on applying traction and applying the power down. And I saw it just again there through turn 4. So 2 corners. With the left-hander, the tail end kicks out to the right. With the right-hander, it kicks out to the left on James Byrne. So he seems like the rear end a little bit less compliant, let's say, because he knows that if the car's moving, he knows he's in as much control as he can be.
Sometimes that's how you like your setup. You know, I've known plenty of drivers who like a looser setup there, as once again Byrne trying to lose Hagland just a little bit, and he's just doing the best that he can right now in and around the circuit, as we'll head into that DRS zone for yet another time. But either way, yeah, Byrne, he likes that car a little loose, and hey, that's all right.
Yeah, so at the moment, the highest of the soft Pirelli shod cars at the moment is Valter Lux, who's now on 4-lap-old soft tyres. It is going to be crucial to see where Radis, Bodlosh, Byrne, Hagland, Haugerod, Lawler, Rensburg, Reed, Branch and Kamaya decide to pit. Jacob Reed now back up into 8th position. And at the moment, well, looking at the lap times, Eduardo Rodis has just been putting in fastest lap after fastest lap. He's just set a 30.582. His best lap was the 30.52. So the consistency that we have seen from the man who started, funnily enough, inside of row 2, got the jump on Hagland and Reed going into turn 1, split the pair, threaded the eye of the needle, and got through for the inside line at turn 1. And that's the thing. Eduardo Rodis' starts are something impressive and beautiful to watch.
Oh, they really are. As you know, still Lux as Goisman goes into the pits for his pit stop, and Lux has been on these soft tires for about 5 laps. He's only 0.2 of a second off of Rodis's fastest time of the race. So these soft tires, Alex, are really coming into play, and I wonder how much longer some of these drivers are going to be on the mediums, as Goisman in and out of his pit box, 4.3 seconds, 23.1 end-to-end through pit road.
Oh, hang on. Valtelux is just... Oh, no. Valtelux is out. He's just disconnected from the server whilst running P13. He was making time, so the Austrian, if he can't... Well, that effectively is going to be game over for him, and that is going to hurt him in terms of the championship side of things. I mean, he's missed a consistency, according to our good friend Mr. Jake Sperry. He's always good at finishing in 4th place, and that was definitely the case at Suzuka. 1 step away from the podium. He's had a 5th at both Phillip Island and Mugello, and that is going to hurt him big time, I'm afraid. Hagland still trying to put the pressure cooker onto the shoulders of James Byrne in this continuing battle for the final step on the overall podium. George Van Rensburg now trying to close into Jeffrey Lawler for P6. Gap between the American in the number 13 and the number 9 from South Africa, just under a second. So I think Van Rensburg will be in DRS range when we hit the next activation zone, as long as he's close enough, going through into turn 11, as we see the very, very colourful number 9 car make its way up from Goodyear through into the Schumacher S's, as we are on lap 25 out of 60. There's Jacob Reed, and he's closing that gap. Looking at the lap times here, Jeremy, Jacob Reed's consistent pace, he's just done a 30.85. Van Rensburg, folks, 31.27. That's nearly half a second gained by the number 3. If anything, if not Jacob Reed, he's on an absolute mission. He's on a tear and just trying to scythe his way back towards the front end of the order. So let's take you on board with Jacob Reed in the number 3 from the United Kingdom as we head down into turn number 1 at Yokohama out of 16. 50 miles an hour now, accelerating up to 3rd gear through into the Mercedes-AMG Arena. Keeping the power linear and consistent. A little bit of a lift, a little dab of brakes through into turn 3, and then keeping it in 3rd gear to maximise traction application. Then short shifting up to 5th. Now he's up to 7th gear, 150 miles an hour as he turns it in, steers it in deftly at the left-hander at turn 6. Now the run through to Goodyear. The right-hand hairpin here at turn 8, 172 miles an hour indicated before we go all the way down to about 65 miles an hour on the apex. Now accelerating up the hill through the Schumacher S's, 6th gear, 160 miles an hour. No sign of lift, up to 7, 170 miles an hour. Now into Ravenel. He's effectively in the DRS detection zone, but he's 1.3 seconds behind Van Rensburg. Out of Bellestein, now into Advan. 7th gear, 180 miles an hour. Are we going to hit that before the chicane? Not quite, 177 on the indicated telemetry. Now through the Vidal chicane, through it turns 14, 15. Now the final corner at Hyundai N curve. Out of the final turn, 5th gear, and crosses the line at over 150 miles per hour. And
no surprise that Jacob Reed is driving out of his mind. Look, you think, okay, you look at now, 8th place, not bad for Reed. Well, two things. One, that means he's 4 down from his grid spot, but two, he's had 2 incidents where he's had to claw his way back up. This is the most recent one where he ended up tail end Charlie, and now he is up to 8th place, trying to close in on Van Rensburg to try and get into DRS range. If he keeps driving like this, I would give it a couple laps before he gets into that range, and once he does, it's going to be game over for Van Rensburg and possibly Lawler's. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of Van Rensburg.
Yep, we're not that far away from half-time here, folks. Lap 27 out of 60, and it'll be 2 to go before we head into uncharted territory, so to speak. How long can our top 13 drivers, rounded out by Germany's Sebastian Rekov, last on these tyres? Byrne and Hagland, they are going to stay out for another lap, as Eduardo Reis now has a nearly 4.5 second advantage over Mario Bodlosh. We ride on board on the rear diffuser mounted camera on the number 1 car from the USA. Hagland, DRS, open, now closed as they hit the braking zone just before turn 1. Over the bumps on the inside of the apex. And you get this wonderful shot of the way that the local air is being... so it's basically... You're going to see now, I'm hearing Van Rensburg is going to come under fire because Jacob Reed has got DRS activation. So the South African is going to have to watch his rear wing and his mirrors like a hawk as we continue our concentration on the drivers in 3rd and 4th. Byrne versus Hagland, USA versus America. And here we go. Back to the battle for P7. Van Rensburg. Here we go. Is there going to be an opportunity as we head down through out of turn 7 into Goodyear at turn 8? We've only got the Schumacher S's to go, plus turn number 11 before, that's Ravenel, before we head into the DRS activation zone here on lap 28 out of 60, and then out of Bilstein. Reed will have DRS, but it's about how he starts using it to tee up a move. Here we go. DRS activated for Jacob Reed and the number 3. Flat bully wide open. He's closing that gap. Is he going to go late on the brakes into the chicane? Not quite. As we get through one of the cameras here, we're getting a nice view of local grass here at the Nürburgring in the Eifel region of Germany. But Jacob Reed will get another bout of DRS. Open it goes. Gap is less than half a second. He's going to close very, very quickly. Will Jacob Reed decide to go late on the brakes? He showed his nose to Van Rensburg saying, right, next lap, you're mine, sunshine.
I think we got to thank our friend Dougie Beard for letting us know what in the Northern Hemisphere green grass looks like this time of year. But either way, Jacob Reed, knowing what the back of a rear wing looks like, especially when it's Van Rensburg, still within striking distance, and he's going to try and keep it nice and tight. And I think, Alex, he might even try and make the pass before the next DRS zone. So we'll keep an eye on that, because Reed, he's driving with a man on the mission, heading into the Goodyear hairpin. Not going to make that pass happen just yet. But either way, Reed within striking distance once again. He'll cross the DRS DRS detection zone in just a little while longer. Once he does, I think it's just a matter of time before he catches up to Lawler when he gets around Rensburg. They'll work their way through these next couple of corners. You'll see the DRS activation zone now, and that rear wing will open up. Let's see how close Reed gets to Van Rensburg. He looks to the inside. No lay brake move yet, because he knows he's got one more close opportunity coming up.
Yep, out of the Vito chicane, it turns 14 and 15 into Hyundai N curve. Of course, Hyundai N, now based out of Maisbad, which is not too far from the Nürburgring itself. But here we go, on board with Jacob Reed. We're on lap 30 out of 60. Reed to the inside at turn number 1, and he's through, but Van Rensburg is going to fight this all the way to turn 2. But unfortunately, halfway through the corner, the South African powerless to counter-attack the sheer aggressive driving that we are seeing from a very highly charged and very fired up Jacob Reed, who now is starting to gap away from the South African. Meantime, Philip Coulthard in the number 15 has got Balázs Galliard, the Hungarian, just behind. This is the battle for P11 on the road. And Galliard doing a really good job at the moment. He's still up 6 spots. He's still the hardest charger of the race so far. But can he make it by race's end to the top 10 overall? And now it's Edward Opariari down in 11th position, who is the highest placed of our soft runners. And more to the point, looks like Valtteri might have rejoined, but unfortunately for the Austrian, that disconnect has cost him big time. He's all the way down in 17th position, but we have had 2 retirements now. Kostek Soloway joins Leopold Steneros as the 2 drivers out of the 19 that started this race. Now, to retire, the big question here, Jeremy, is how long will these medium compound tyres last? Because the track temp has slightly dropped, 77. Well, it stayed the same, but the air temp dropped so slightly. Galliard to the outside of Coulthard. The Hungarian decides not to do it as Dennis Branch, now the first one on lap 30, well, on what will be lap 32. That means there'll be 28 laps that man is going to have to wrestle with those soft compound Pirellis. But also in the colder temperatures, the soft tyres, they do heat up a little bit quicker as Galliard to the outside of Coulthard. Oh, Coulthard locks up the brakes, so the Hungarian round the outside for P10. Beautiful manoeuvring by the number 17 from Hungary as the man local to these parts, the German in the number 15, locks himself out of the top 10.
You know, Alex, I've not seen too much of a fall off in the mediums yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that fall off in the next couple laps as Raikkonen comes into the pits for his pit stop. So he lasts 31 laps on those medium tires as well. And now Bodenlos with another flash. So that's another one that we have seen out of our second place driver, giving him a very short sector 1 time as Hagelin trying to close in on Byrne yet again. Although going close to that grass, that's not going to give you the fastest time. He closes within striking distance, but doesn't make anything happen there. But yeah, these soft tires, or these medium tires, I should say, are lasting a lot longer than I thought they would. However, I'm looking at Opari's time, and yeah, I mean, the softs are very consistent for 26 laps on those tires.
It's just under 31.18, so there's no pace lacking as Kamaya comes into the pits from 9th on the road, so that'll promote Balázs Galliard up to P10. Coulthard now, so the Germans going on the aggressive strategy on home soil here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit as we continue to ride on the airbox cam of Alex Hagelin, the Swede, in the number 10, still trying to chase down James Byrne for that 3rd position. So now it's going to be a case of how long do you stay out for? And I think the biggest telling point will be how well can Eduardo Rodis, our race leader, from the minute we hit turn 1, lap 1, how long is he willing to stay out for? That's the big question, as now Byrne decides to pit on lap 33, 28 to go, including this one. And the man from the USA manages to stop in time. In terms of the speed limit, they've got to be very, very careful. One wrong move on that brake pedal, you brake too late, you pay the piper, Jeremy.
Well, here's the thing too. You talk about Rodis. Alex, he just dropped the fastest lap of the race again with a 30.133. So I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed out until the last possible minute to slap on those soft tires as even more drivers come in. Jacob Reed, Van Rensburg in, Lawler's in, Byrne with a 3.3 in and out in 22.8 seconds as Lawler's out as well. A race off a pit road between Reed and Van Rensburg. Van Rensburg gets the advantage so far, but how long does that last as Byrne now the highest? Ooh, a little wiggle there. Byrne right now the highest runner on the softs.
Yeah, currently P5 at the moment. Bit of a slow stop for Jacob Reed, 4.63 seconds. Van Rensburg was out because he was on his marks. Tyres were changing just a shade over 4 seconds and out he went. But yeah, James Byrne, 3.35 seconds for a tyre change. Well, that's what you call expediting the situation very, very quickly. Bodlosh now into pits. Now it's Hagland as well. So the litmus test on how long these medium compound Pirelli tyres will last will depend on our race leader. Alex Hagland nearly locked up the fronts there going into pit road. He could have very easily have nearly copped a penalty for that one. Sander Haugerod from the neighbouring Scandinavian country of Norway has now entered into pit lane. So very well, looking at Bodlosh's time, 23.2 seconds. Hagland out in 20, and there is Hagland's done the overcut on James Byrne with a beautiful lead time pit stop. James Byrne, it wasn't much in it. Byrne's going to be on warmer tyres, so Hagland's going to have to sort of wait until those tyres come up to temp. It'll only take a lap or two with the soft compound Pirellis. But now Byrne and Hagland, they really are, they're basically joined at the DRS on the rear wing, because no matter what one does, they can't shake the other one for toffee.
That's the question here is what happens is now Radice decides it's the perfect time to come in first off. So barring a nasty pit stop, he's going to come back out in the lead. He had a 25 second gap from first to second. Of course, the pit delta time is about 23 seconds. So see what Radice can do as he gets onto the jacks, back down 4 seconds is the time, 22.831. And Alex, he's got about a 7-second gap to Bodlos, as it's going to be interesting to see how well he can manage that gap with trying to get the tires up to temperature.
Yeah, well, he's just gained about the best part of, over 6. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he gained over 0.4 of a second on Mario Bodlos, so the gap went up to about 7.5 seconds. We're running on board with Germany's Philipp Kuhnhardt, so it's not been an easy one for Kammeyer, Kuhnhardt and Hekov on their home soil. This is not going to stop them for the want of trying. Sparks flying for the underside of the rear diffuser from Balázs Galliard. Here comes Kuhnhardt, DRS fully open, and he gets through before they even hit the Vidal chicane. So Galliard is now not, I think he just thought, well, you know what, Kuhnhardt's behind me, he's got his DRS. Best I not fight it at this moment, because there's still plenty of skin left in the game. We've got 26 laps to go, and Eduardo Radice has just done a 47.25 opening sector. That includes his transfer time through pit lane, so they do cross the line when they get into their pit stall at the end of pit road. But Jacob Reed, ding seconds out round 2 between him and the ever hard charging South African of George van Rensburg in the battle for P7. Now, if Reed can clear van Rensburg very, very quickly here, Jeremy, he might be able to go and start catching Jeffrey Lawler, because the last lap was Jacob Reed's personal best, a 30.378. Van Rensburg 30.743. Lawler half a tenth slower than Van Rensburg, who is 2.2 seconds behind him. If Reed clears Van Rensburg, bit of a wobble, that's the second wobble twice in a row out of the final corner, and what could have been an opportunity for Jacob Reed has just been thrown under the bridge like water, I'm afraid.
We'll see if Reed can keep the car under him. It seems like that this is just an ill-handling machine out of him. As he said, nothing but here's the thing too. He had nothing but problems until that car got the warm tires under it. He had those 2 spins, and now with those 2 wiggles, thankfully those weren't too bad, but still enough to lose enough ground. However, he is still within striking distance once the DRS zones come into play. But I know for a fact that he just does not want to see Van Rensburg just go away from him, because you see out of the back that Reed's is getting smaller and smaller by the centimeter, heading through the good hairpin once again. And a little bit of a wiggle there, no harm, no foul. But yeah, I think that Reed just having problems getting those tires up to temperature. It's taking him at least a lap or 2 longer than the rest of the field.
Yeah, and that could make all the difference in the latter stages of the races if the race of the tyres start falling off a cliff. But obviously, with these colder temps, the soft tyres should have a little bit more longevity within the carcass of the tyre. At the moment, well, Mario Bodlosh has just done a 29.788. That's the new fastest lap of the race. And Eduardo Redis, he is 3 1,000ths off, going sub 1 minute 30 around here at the Nürburgring. James Byrne has also started exploiting some performance in the number 1 car. His best lap, 1:29.976. So we are going to see, after the amount of medium compound rubber that's been put on the track here at the Nürburgring Grand-Prix circuit, the softs are really going to come alive, and you can see how close Jacob Reed is on George van Rensburg through out of turn number 3, out of 4. Now the run down to turns 5 and 6. We ride on board on the front right nose cam of the number 3 from the UK into Goodyear very shortly as we go through turns 6 and 7. Now down the crescent hill, so to speak, into Goodyear. Hard on the brakes, Reed taking a tighter line, but then car doesn't seem to comply at mid-corner there, Jeremy, because he lost a good 10th.5 to Van Rensburg, who was able to sweep a little bit wider into the corner. And I think that's probably the best attack part, the best way of attacking turn 8 at Goodyear, that you go in wide and then you cross over, whereas Reed was very much like, I'm going to go in tighter and see if that can work. And unfortunately, at turn 8, it's not helping him, but look how close he is to Van Rensburg. We're going to go through the final corner, so he would have already gone past the DRS detection point number 2. So Reed, 3.5 tenths behind, DRS activated for the number 3. And that gap is closing quickly. Reed to the inside, T1, lap number 38, and he gets through for P7. Now he's got to start to try and catch Jeffrey Lawler in front of him for P6.
You saw how close they got to Lawler as well, and Reed close enough for possible striking distance. We'll see where he's at, the DRS detection zone. But yeah, I've noticed that the past couple of laps how Reed, he gets in so deep there at Goodyear, but I think that speed going in might have hurt him just a little bit. Obviously, it's a moot point now because he's gotten around Van Rensburg as is that Keimer into the pits? Yeah, it is. So he's in for his second pit stop as we have a replay to show why, and well, this is gonna be interesting. Coming around, just a little bit of a wiggle, and can't even catch onto it. Backs it into the Armco barrier there, and catches a little bit of air while he's at it. Spins like a top, and no rear wing to show for it.
Yeah, because I caught a glimpse of his left rear Pirelli tyre catching the gravel as he exited out of turn number 16 at the Hyundai N-Curva. And now, and later on in the lap, this is probably why he's pitted. Oh dear. 360 anybody? Well, that was definitely what Florian Kammeier unfortunately just delivered, with no rear wing to speak of on his W13 performance. But Jacob Reed, DRS open, closing into Jeffrey Lawler. Gap is now less than half a second as they go into turn number 1 with 22 laps remaining. And Eduardo Rodis holding on to a 5.4 second advantage over Mario Bodlosh, the Austrian, with James Byrne from the USA rounding out your top 3, a further nearly 13 seconds adrift. But new fastest lap of the race, Jacob Reed. Get this, folks, we are going deeper and deeper towards a sub 1 minute 29. Jacob Reed on lap 39 of the race, 1:29.525. He's bringing the fire more than James Byrne is trying to catch up with Mario Bodlosh at the moment for second position.
Yeah, no surprise here that Jacob Reed just trying to get fast lap after fast lap. And of course, this is after Redis holding on to that fast lap for so long today. Let's see what he can do this next time by. Now the tires are right in that prime zone where he can be able to catch it, as Lawler just can only do nothing but watch Reed close in each and every time with that rear wing open. Van Rensburg also has a chance for DRS, so great drafting opportunity for those two. Not so much for Lawler, as he'll just be a sitting duck when the time comes, and Lawler taking the inside line heading into turn number 1. Reed gonna give him fits, and here's the thing, it's gonna be a great run around turn number 1. Reed has the point for the time being, and he's gonna get it, but does Lawler go for the over-under in turn 3? No, he does not. So move Jacob Reed to the top, open track, enough time to possibly get an even faster lap, but he's got 4 seconds to catch up to Hagerrod, with Lawler and Rensburg behind him, still within DRS striking distance.
Yeah, very much the case. Now, I have just spotted that Manuel Bodlosh just did a 29.2, but I'm not too sure. That will be an invalidated lap because he did exceed track limits. Now, we're getting to that stage. We're nearly 2/3 of the way through the race here, Jeremy. Track limits are going to be a talking point. And when I say the words again, Eduardo Radice and Mugello are not great bedfellows after what happened on the last lap. Positions can be decided by one mistake more than you want.
They can't really make those mistakes, especially with 20 laps to go, because it's just going to make things just even more difficult near the end of the race, as Bodloss goes to a 29.1. 29.1 is the fastest lap, so we're edging ever so closer into those 28s for your fastest lap. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. Let's see what Lawler does. No, he's not able to get in there, but Reed close enough as well. So lots of fast lap times being proven as Bodloss flashes once again. Got to keep an eye on him. He's 4.6 seconds back, but he might be a little bit further back if he keeps his flashing going on.
Yeah, that's very much the case. I mean, Bodlosh losing a little bit of... Well, I mean, the thing is that we can't get a real understanding on some of the laps because of what's going on at the minute, but he is closing that gap to Eduardo Radice. Now, Radice at the moment, according to the StatHub iRacing Grand Prix Tour, big thanks to a certain Mr. Jake Sperry, who normally you hear his dulcet tones on this, but obviously Eduardo Radice, this is his 52nd start, and he's on course at the moment for his 15th iRacing Grand Prix World Tour victory. But the big problem is that Manuel Bodlosh at the minute is closing that gap. Now, bearing in mind, Bodlosh has had 9 starts. His highest result has been a P3, and he was 15th last season. And funny enough, his last top 5, his last podium actually, was 2024 at Fuji Speedway. So Bodloss also looking for a career best, but it's one step away from the top step of the podium. Van Rensburg closing in on Lawler for P7. 4/10 is the gap between the pair. But 19 laps remaining. And at the moment, well, I'm looking at it from this perspective. Bodlosh is actually matching Radice in the opening sector. He's just gone over a 10th quicker in sector number 2. Gap is down to just under 4.6 seconds. But the consistent lap times that Eduardo Radice has been putting in, he's done really, really well. There's the driver from Turkey, Ali Gugman, who is battling away with Balash Galyar for 12th position. So they are really having a good scrap. But obviously the thing is, now look at this, folks. Edward Opiri has made his way to 10th position. So great work by the number 11. He's 22.7 seconds off of Dennis Branch, who was one of the first to blink when it came to the main contingent of the field, as the Ghanaian trying to keep away from Philip Coulthard, who is closing that gap, and it's down to about 8.5, 9/10 of a second. But what a run by the man from Ghana, as Van Rensburg DRS open in pursuit of Lawler to the outside into turn 1. On the brakes go the pair. And Lawler and Van Rensburg wheel to wheel into turn 2. The South African takes the racing line. How close was that as Lawler gets a nose ahead into turn 3. And Van Rensburg, nearly a bit of contact between left front wing end plate for Lawler. He backs out of it and Rensburg completes the move after Lawler tried to do a number on him into turn number 1 when Van Rensburg put it to the outside.
So some great racing here for that 7th spot is Jacob Reed. He's gone, done, and dusted in 6th place. Coulthard trying to close in on 10th place. I know we've got the sim race going on here. Alex, I've been handed this piece of paper. While F1 is on their break, Lance Stroll is racing some World Challenge. He already got his first fine for breaking the speed limit on pit road.
Oh, poor old Lance Stroll. Everyone's a driver that they love to take the mickey out of in the Formula One paddock. But yeah, making his GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS endurance race debut as it's going on at the moment. 6 hours of Paul Ricard in the Castellet in France, the Pastis region of the country. And also another person from the Formula One paddock is there keeping a keen eye on proceedings. The man behind Mercedes-AMG Verstappen Racing, of course, 4-time Formula One world champion Max Verstappen, who I can definitely see sports cars being in his not very far distant future, depending on his current trials and tribulations in the 2026 FIA Formula One World Championship. But nevertheless, we go back to racing here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit for round 4 out of 24 for the iRacing GP World Tour here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Thank you so much to everyone that's been watching along as we have 17 to go at this 3.2 mile, 16 turn circuit that has been around since the early 1980s and still continues to be a part of many a calendar, including GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS. Philip Coulthard still trying to keep the Ghanaian driver Edward Ipariari in the number 11 car. Very, very honest, but more to the point, the number 11, I think this is, Suzuka, he didn't have a good run. Turn 1, lap 1, off the track, into the barriers. Went and got the car back to pit lane, came back and finished the race. And what's more, this will be his first career point in the iRacing GP World Tour if he hangs on and defends like crazy. As here goes Lawler to the inside of Van Rensburg. Turn 1, the American locks up the brakes. They're wheel to wheel. Lawler, is he going to go around the outside at turn 2 at the AMG Arena? Yes, he does, and he just gets through by a whisker. Jeffrey Lawler on the edge of the limits and adhesion does a number around the outside of George Van Rensburg, and I'm sure the South African was quite taken aback by that one.
Well, you saw how quick it took for Lawler to kind of bob left and right to try and get around Van Rensburg, but Van Rensburg close enough. He might be able to defend here going into turn 1 once again as they work their way towards a DRS detection zone. But either way, it's going to be interesting these final couple of laps because this battle is going to be absolutely fantastic. By the way, Reed 1.3 seconds behind Hagerod to get into that 5th place spot. Oh, there's a little bit of a wiggle there. And there's a replay. Look at that. Both going to defend and Lawler going even lower. He's like, how low can I go? He's going to go almost all the way to the grass and then goes high, wide, and handsome to get into that 7th spot.
Looked like that was the Lawler Limbo special right there with how deep he went into the brakes and dive bombed up the inside like Daniel Ricciardo on George Van Rensburg. But meantime, Jacob Reed closing consistently quick. He just took over half a second out of Sander Haugerod. So Jacob Reed looking very, very racy indeed. But then there's a big gap between Haugerod and fellow Scandinavian, Sweden's Alex Haglund, who still continues to round out the top 4. But he has lost time to James Byrne, who is 3 seconds up the road. And Coulthard still with Ipariari battling away for the last position in the points here at round 4 at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. This has been a really good drive by the Ghanaian, but here comes the German to the outside. Now DRS deactivated on the brakes. Tries to get the under over. Coulthard, will he get through on the Ghanaian? Yes, he does. Exactly what we saw from the battle between Lawler and Rensburg. Only Opariari, I think, just misjudged his braking point into turn one, but Coulthard off the circuit. Oh, that could be a slowdown penalty for the German, and he nearly forces Opariari onto the grass out of turn number 4 as they go down the hill. And who does that bring into the fight for the 4-car fight it's going to be? Balazs, Galliard and Turkey's Ali Gökmen rounding out your top 13 with 14 to go.
Man, that was some sort of move. We'll see if he gets that slowdown penalty. I don't think he's going to just yet, as Opariari is not closed in. Here comes Jacob Reed. Once again, we mentioned he's going to be close there within striking distance. Lawler doing his best to hold off Van Rensburg. So if you like battles in the top 10 here, you're going to love every second of this, as these two battles are going to go tooth and nail to the end of the race. But yeah, Coulthard now trying to hold off Opariari as they go down into that second DRS detection zone, and that's going to give a lot of drivers who are close within one another to open up those rear wings and let those cars stretch out.
Opariari's been on those soft compound Pirellis for what is now 42 laps. That is a brave and bold strategy from the number 11, and that effectively meant that on lap number 40, on lap 6, he pitted for soft tyres. He thought, nah, I don't want these medium Pirellis, I want the soft ones. And you know what? For him to be as high as he is, okay, he's only made up one place, made up 2 places, but more to the point, that is going to be, I think, one of the drives so far of how long you can make a set of soft compound Pirellis on a Mercedes-AMG W13 E-Performance last around the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. Opariari better take a bow after this one, because he has earned, in my book, driver of the day. Reed on Haugerod through on the inside before they'd even hit the apex. Runs steep at turn 1. Haugerod is going to come back at him, throw it to the outside at turn 2. Reed says no. Covers off the racing line and the outside line thereof, and Reed now back up into 5th position. That's more than likely going to be the highest pace, but can he start digging in to that 14.5 second gap between him and Sweden's Alex Hagland, who rounds out your top 4. 13 to go here at the Nürburgring.
So Jacob Reed trying his best to at least limit the bleeding, and he's only lost now 1 spot from his grid position. That's what's going to say on the sheets, but at the end of the day, look at how many positions that he has gained so far as Galliard really trying to get it higher and higher up, as Coulthard has opened up a little bit bigger gap to these 3 cars behind him, with Pariari, Galliard, and Gökmen sitting there in 11th, 12th, and 13th. Still within striking distance, but I've got to say, Alex, this is going to go down to the wire to see who's going to get that final point position. By the way, Bodelosh has closed in within 3.5 seconds, in spite of Radis running a couple laps ago the fastest lap of the race with a 29.017, so that's 28. You can smell that cooking, and it ain't the Wiener Schnitzel that they're serving up.
I love it. I love that. You know what? It's all about the bounce here in the GSRC broadcast booth. To the outside of Lawler, here goes Van Rensburg, the South African, trying to chance it. He's going to run a little bit round the outside, through and to the inside at turn 2. Lawler comes back at him. Oh, nearly a clash of interlocking wheels between the South African and the American through out of turn 4. Let's see who gets a wiggle on after that. No, none from Lawler, none from Van Rensburg. Into turn 5 and turn 6. Then it's the run down, well, 6 and 7. Down through we go in towards Goodyear here on lap number 49. Out of 60, 12 to go, including this one, and Eduardo Reis has put us on to 11 to go. Opariari, oh, he thought, right, I might chance it around the outside. These tyres still feel good. He's giving Coulthard some real stick. So the man from Germany on his home track is finding that a certain Ghanaian driver in the Ford Edward Opiri is really saying, look, this might be your home turf, but I'm here to put one on you. To the outside and Advan Van Rensburg with DRS fully open steals P7 like candy off a baby off of Jeffrey Lawler with one of the boldest moves around the outside of that fast right-hand kink.
And of course, now Lawler's going to have to go around once again through turn 1. We saw how tight that he made it. He's going to make it even tighter contact between he and Van Rensburg into turn number 1. It was side by side. Lawler goes a little bit wide. They're still going to go side by side. And Lawler's going to have the position for the time being. Alex, we've also gone into the 28s with 1 and 2, both setting their fastest laps of the race. Mabodolos has the fastest lap of the race with a 28.1. Here's a replay of Goisman having some issues around turn 1, and yeah, that back end getting on that gas a little too early. It's just going to snap you right around. Thankfully, little tap in the wall, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, Mario Bodlosh is charging, and he's only 3 seconds away from Eduardo Radiz, who's looking to make it back-to-back win. Suzuka last time out at round 3. Can he do it again here at round 4? Well, the form book might say yes, but Mario Bosch, the Austrian, who put it on pole position by nearly 4/10 of a second in qualifying, he's going to stake, well, I'm going to stake my claim to win at the Nürburgring as Van Rensburg. Here he goes, big lick of speed into the chicane, to the outside. DRS deactivated, Van Rensburg through once again. P7 in the slight clutches, and I mean slight because Lawler is going to get the DRS right now out of turn number 16 at Hyundai N, and the gap is going to close. Less than 3/10, now coming up to less than 2/10. Lawler to the outside at turn 1 at Yokohama. Van Rensburg defends the inside line. Oh, that is so close. So close. Van Rensburg holds on with a beautiful captivating move at turn 2. Lawler looked to stick his nose up the inside cheekily at 3, and Van Rensburg said, "Thou shalt pass."
Nice little defense there by the South African. Now Lawler trying to stay within striking distance, and I think he's going to, but he loses a little bit of ground there coming into the Goodyear hairpin once again. Lawler, the American, we'll take a look at a replay here as we watch Lawler reel in Van Rensburg, and let's see what Galliard has happened to him as he's, you don't want to have the DRS activated when you have some sort of instant because you're going to be in too hot, but that's actually a nice little pass there that we see Galliard make as Lawler is getting into the DRS zone. The rear wing is open, but still a little bit too far away. That's still going to set him up for a good pass into turn 1 if he can close in. Half a second separates 7th and 8th place here as that gap keeps shrinking around the final corner. Lawler comes. He's going to open up the rear wing right about now and reel in Van Rensburg, but still too far away to make something happen. He'll get close, but no cigar into turn 1.
Yeah, and in the meantime, well, I have to say, if Edward Opiri makes it to the checkered flag, he will have been on those soft compound Pirellis. Forget this, folks. 54 laps. Pitted lap 6. Decided to go early on it. There is Bodlosh. Now, what they are finding, back marker traffic is coming into play. There ahead of Mario Bodlosh is going to be Philip Coulthard. And so the gap is closing. It's 2.3 seconds. So the back marker traffic in the later stages of this race, all the way up to Philip Coulthard, has been lapped by the top 2. There's Eduardo Radiz. There's Coulthard. There's Bodlosh, who will actually get DRS activation. Reason being, the car in front may be less than a second in front of him. You can tell pretty much just by eyeballing it here that Bodlosh, I think, through into Ravel at turn number 11, might get a little bit of a helping hand of DRS activation, because his gap now to Eduardo Radiz is 2 seconds. 8 to go, including this. believe you me, folks, you do not want to turn your eye away from your screens right now, because we have got something cooking. It's not James Byrne, but it's Eduardo Radice versus a new challenger, and who finished 15th last season. It's Austria's Mario Bodlos, who is campaigning for his first iRacing Grand Prix World Tour victory in the neighbouring country of Germany, based on where he's from.
A little bit of a wiggle there coming into the Hyundai end curve, but still, that gap is shrank from the, basically, remember, it was 20 plus seconds, now down to 1.7 seconds. So Bodlos trying to do what he can to close in on Radice, your championship leader, around turn number 1. The two of them come, 1.6 seconds. I give it about 2 to 3 laps before we see Bodlos ending up within striking distance of the DRS zone. 29.076 out of your leader. Second place, 28.517. Alex, all you can do at this point is just laugh. We thought Eduardo had a huge gap and was going to be able to manage it, but then again, this is what happens in racing. You get a separate set of tires, and then you set yourself up and get ready to, you set yourself up, you think, hey, everything's fine, but sometimes the tires give you a little bit different handling on the cars than what you're used to.
Yeah, definitely agree there, Jeremy. I think it's all down to how quick you want to be, but can you manage those soft compound tires? Radice on lap 20, Bodlos on lap 21, Ali Gökmen trying to battle with Edward Opiri for what is now 12th position, and a mammoth 48 laps completed on the soft Pirelli compound tyres by the number 11 from Ghana. But that gap is still coming down. Another 10.5 taken out by Bodlos as Gökmen gets through on Opiri for P12. But now Bodlos has just lost a little bit of time. So Bodlos now 2.5 seconds. That gap has gone up quite alarmingly, because he lost a big amount of time in Sector 3. Oh, it was going so well. And Bodlos, I think, might have just had a little bit of an error. Let's have a look at the GSRC replay to put this all together. It's through the chicane. It's out of turn 15. Oh, snatches and saves a tank lapper that could have turned the Austrian around. And now he's got to gather himself back up and do it all again. But more to the point, that might have just cost him the opportunity to go for the win. But nevertheless, since Fuji 2024, that was the last time that Mario Bodlos hit the podium, and he's about to go one step higher nearly 2 years later here in 2026.
I would not be surprised to see him close in either way, because they're both... Look, Bodlos can see Radice, and that's exactly what he wants. He wants to get up there, and of course, he's down to 2.2 seconds. Let's see what the battle for position is, as you see the battle for the final point heating up between Coulthard and Galliard, as they are neck and neck. Galliard's going to have that DRS zone right as they come off the final corner down the front straightaway, and within striking distance, I think we might have a good battle for that position here, as Coulthard takes a defensive line. Galliard drafts up against him. He's got to go the inside, a little bit of a wiggle. He's going to get 10th place quite easily for now, but how long will he keep it?
Yeah, bearing in mind Philip Coulthard has already got a point to his credit, but Balázs Galliard was not that far away last time out when we went to Suzuka. Actually, for the last 2 races in a row, the Hungarian has finished 11th place. Now, with 5 laps remaining, it is all to play for. Now, can he pull a gap away from Germany's Philip Coulthard in the number 15 car? Let's just see. Galliard now 7 tenths away. It still means that Coulthard, through the next DRS activation zone at Ravenel at turn 11, will be able to go through out of Bilstein at turn 12, through into Advanborgen at 13, and maybe try and see if he can pull off a blistering round the outside manoeuvre, because we have seen it done here today, folks, let's not forget. And more to the point, well, Galliard is 8 tenths, and that DRS for Philip Coulthard is looking powerless. But look at this, 4 to go. Bodlosh has gained a second on the race leader. It's game on for the win. Here with Eduardo Radice looking for his third win of the season and looking for his maiden iRacing GP World Tour race victory. Mario Bodlosh, the Austrian, is charging ever forever forward.
Half second faster that last time by, so if he keeps this up, he might be within DRS striking distance to start closing in even faster. That's not what Radice wanted here in these closing stages. He wanted to cruise to victory, but it may be easier said than done, as Bodlosh now 1.3 seconds, and that gap every single corner, it seems like it is shrinking for your leader. He's led all the laps so far, but here's the thing, Bodlosh has 1 lap older tires, so that might be something to keep in mind as well, as these two are going tooth and nail to one another.
Yeah, if he didn't overheat it through the heat cycle, nearly a tenth and a half taken out by Bodlosh on Radice through Sector 2. And it's Sector 3 where the Austrian is really able to get that 1.6 litre V6 turbo hybrid power unit up to full speed a lot quicker. So if he hasn't overexerted the tyres trying to get them to warm up, and look at this, the gap is now just under 1.2 seconds, 3 to go, as Bodlosh has a slight ping moment there. But more to the point, Radice has to be worried at the moment, because if Bodlosh is going to close up, let's say on aggregate, 4 to 5 tenths of a second in a lap, that means probably on the last lap of the race when we have the white flag here, Jeremy, if Bodlosh is in DRS range, he's going to give it everything, guaranteed.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, Sector 3 is just it's his bread and butter through here. I mean, he's losing a little bit of ground, but still able to close in as they work their way through Sector 2. But Sector 2, you're on board with the Austrian as they work their way towards the Goodyear hairpin. And that right-hander just ever so slightly, 1.2 seconds. If he can get within us, if he can gain 0.2 of a second right here, he will get his first sniff of DRS. And no, he's not going to be able to. He's just 1.8 seconds. He's 0.18 seconds off of trying to close in once again, but he might get that DRS activation through the activation zone, because this is his best 2 corners right here as he goes left. And then right, no, Radice able to open up that gap and keep him away by 1/10 of a second, Alex, over the DRS zone.
Right, here we go. We've got the last 2 laps of the race. That basically equates to what will be just over 6.5 miles of real estate, of tarmac for these drivers to circumnavigate. Will Radice hold on for his 3rd win of the series, having had a black flag on the last lap at round 2 at Mugello? He's looking to do the double back-to-back in 2 successive rounds. He runs a little bit wide coming out of turn 4 as Kent Nielsen trying to go to battle with Edward Pairiari. And look at this, folks, for a stat. 53 laps of Pairiari on soft tyres. Kent Nielsen, the man from Canada, 51 laps on the soft compound tyres. So you would say that the advantage would be with the man in 14th position. But it is closing down to these final few moments of this race. After this, we'll have one more lap, just over 3.2 miles to go. There is a bit of history being written for one individual, but then someone else will make a bit of iRacing GP World Tour history here at the Nürburgring. Down into Advan for the penultimate time here on lap 59 out of 60. And then the Vidal chicane, then the Hyundai N curve, as now Eduardo Radice will lead us on to the 60th and final lap. White flag in the air here in the Eifel regions of Germany, and the gap is just under 1.2 seconds. No DRS assist for Mario Bodlosh, the man from Austria who put it on pole by a commanding margin in time qualifying. just nearly 2 hours ago. And at this point, Eduardo Radiz is making sure that he is not to be trifled with, but Bodlosh is going to give him a run for his money. The gap as they come out of turn 4 is around about a second. Could Bodlosh head into the final DRS activation zone within a second? It's just about that 9/10 of a second window. Can Bodlosh bring something magical to the party here in sector number 2? Bodlosh nearly a tenth quicker in the opening sector. He now knows this is his last charge through the Schumacher S's up the hill for the final time as we turn towards Ravenel at turn number 11 for the final DRS activation zone. Bodlosh is within that window. Less than 9/10 of a second, he got it. But here we go, out of Bilstein through into Advan. He's going to be powerless, I'm afraid. Bodlosh is about to pick up his best ever iRacing GP World Tour position in history, in second position. But the man that did the double at Suzuka, he's going to do it again. Eduardo Radiz does the double in 2 successive seasons here in the Eifel regions of Germany and wins round 4 by, get this, 0.664 of a second.
Incredible. Here's the thing, if Bodlosh did this 1 lap sooner, it would have been a closer race, but Byrne comes around the corner and he's going to hold off all comers and finish 3rd.
Well, you know what's even funnier, because Balázs Galliard was a lap down off of Eduardo Radiz, and Balázs Galliard picks up his first iRacing GP World Tour point. Congratulations to the Hungarian, who made up 8 spots along with Ali Gökmen from Turkey. They were the hardest chargers of the race, but Balázs Galliard, welcome to the honour roll list of iRacing's GP World Tour. 10th place, 1 point for the number 17 from Hungary. Man, did he have to fight it with no time in qualifying, and after 60 laps, well, he's made his own bit of history for us here today on GSRC as Dennis Branch from the USA comes across the line and is our last driver to do so, finishing in 9th position. But what can you say by the statement made by Eduardo Radiz? 3 times a race winner this series and in 2 successive rounds. Suzuka, now add Nürburgring, the Italian in the number 2, has gone back-to-back with race victories in both successive years, and I think that man could be capable of a heck of a lot more when we go to round number 5. So, after 60 laps, Eduardo Radiz, 2 times a race winner at Suzuka at round 3, now 2 times a race winner here at the Nürburgring, winning by the hard-charging Mario Bodlosh, who takes his maiden 2nd position in the IGP, the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour. Could have been close if he was about half a second quicker. I think maybe he could have pipped Radiz right at the flag, but we'll never know. That's the story for another day. James Byrne continues his run of consistency, rounding out your top 3. So that's a 9th, a 1st and a 2nd for the number 1 car. Alex Hagland takes 4th ahead of the fast-charging Jacob Reed after 2 incidents, recovers to finish P5 ahead of Sander Haugerod. George van Rensburg, who had a great toe-to-toe battle with the USA's Jeffrey Lawler, with Dennis Branch and Hungary's Balázs Galliard rounding out your top 10.
As you take a look at 11th on back, it's Ali Goishman and Philip Kuhnhardt. Around 12th, 13th, Kent Nielsen. Edward Apariari, for some reason, did not complete that final lap. He'll still finish off 14th. Sebastian Recco and Walter Lux round out your finishers. Out of the race, Florian Kammeyer, Kostek Soloway, and Leopold Sternas rounding out your field.
Yeah, so... well, what can you say? I mean, Jeremy, first of all, I think it was the textbook start for Eduardo Radiz, let's be completely honest. I mean, he shot through like a rocket out of a cannon on that start. He's always been electric with it, but we just saw how well he reacts and activates that second phase of getting that traction down and heading into turn 1 at Yokohama. Just literally mugged the front row. And they were like, what's going on here? And to be honest with you, despite Manuel Bodlosh closing in, it was a case of Radice went, you know what? I made a mistake at Suzuka. I'm not going to make a mistake here.
Yeah, definitely, and that was absolutely fantastic. He led the race for a good part, basically all the race. He had a healthy lead there at the start, then came in, got the softs, and I think that's what kind of was the start of his undoing, because Bodloss had a 7-second gap that he had to close in, and at the end, 0.6 of a second separated first from second. But either way, we had a lot of great battles near there near the end as well. As we mentioned, Gagliar with his first points of his iRacing GP career here, and Goisman being able to go around Coulthard. I think those tires may have gone away on the 15 there near the end as well.
Yeah, some standout drives. I mean, Kent Nielsen and Edward Opiri 54 laps on the softs, Nielsen 52. But you know what? Whilst we're waiting for hopefully a couple of interviews post-race here for what has been a very, very tough and taxing round 4 here at the Nürburgring, where are we heading next? Well, we're heading to Italy for our next race, which will be April the 17th. And that will be 7:45 p.m. British summertime, or GMT, or UTC if you want to call it, will be 18:45, 2:45 p.m. Eastern. The Autodromo Enzo Guidino Ferrari, a true classic again, one of the staples of Italian motorsport, Jeremy. Another one where you don't really get a chance to breathe. And if the drivers think, yeah, finally, I'm glad that's over, they go to him and go like, here we are again.
Yeah, that's like, hey, that was a great race. Yeah, I can rest. Oh, no, I really can't, because, Imola, it's one of those great challenges, and really, it's an easy classic here, up and down the iRacing calendar. But yeah, we stay in Europe for the next round, and Imola's going to be absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, we are still waiting, but you know what? Let's give you an update on what is also coming up here on the Global SimRacing Channel, because there's plenty still to come. Saturday, April the 11th, we head to the Glen for Grand Prix Legends. The IMSA Vintage Series heads to Laguna Seca the same day. The final round at Silverstone for the Sim Racing Republic GT Open heads to the home of British Motorsport on Sunday the 12th, and more to the point, well, the classic Lotus Grand Prix Sunday GP Series heads to the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache on the afternoon of Sunday, April 12th. Well, firstly, big thank you to you all for watching, and thank you for your company over the 60 laps here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit for round 4 of the iRacing GP World Tour. A big thank you to the team behind the scenes, to Jeremy, to Christian, and to Dougie. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. Well, what can you say about our true, real talisman that is really punching and sending a statement? Eduardo Radice does the double at Suzuka, then backs it up the next round here in the Eifel region of Germany. Well, what might happen at Imola on April the 17th? Well, you're just going to have to wait and find out. Until next time, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, you better go flat out. We'll see you next time for more racing action here on GSRC. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night for now.
This is iRacing.